Welcome back to Swangard Stadium for the second home game of the season, second game overall for the TSS Rovers as they take on the Victoria Highlanders before their monumental clash on Wednesday against Pacific FC in the Canadian Championship. Should be a good one, but this one on tap though as the Rovers make a plethora of changes from last week's game, a scoreless draw against Notsamot FC in their first game under that name, as the Rovers 6 changes as mentioned. Justin Sandu, Nick Barrett, Ali Zohar, Connor McMillan, Matteo Polisi, and Danilo Smichenko draw in. They're joined by Ali Zohar, Ivan Mejia, Eric Edwardson, Grant Verhoeven, Tyler Dillon, and Nico Papakyriakopoulos for TSS. Here this afternoon for the 4 p.m. kickoff after the women's game, a 1-1 draw between the Highlanders and TSS women as well. For the Highlanders, they make 4 changes this afternoon as well. As we'll go through the lineup here as Zadravic goes in goal for Steve Simonson's Highlanders. He wears the number 30, the bright neon kit this afternoon. Gregor Smith, Keyshawn Brooks, Javier Sagas, and Caden Rogozinski on the back line. Cody Gisbers, Cody Greaves, Jonathan Welcher in the midfield alongside Kensho Ando, Gordon Hall, and Sesko Bartolillo for the Highlanders. What promises to be a good one here, Michael? Obviously, this is a different Rovers team than last week. Obviously, said the change is 6 from last week, but just a big opportunity here for TSS to get their first goal of the season, maybe even their first 3 points against a very difficult Steve Simonson Victoria Highlanders here.
Yeah, it's always a good battle between these two teams. TSS had the better of their encounters in the 2022 season. A 3-2 win over in Victoria before TSS spanked them 4-0 here at Swangard in the second game. They'll be hoping for more of that this afternoon. I think TSS go into this one with a lot of hopes. They want to get their first win of the season. They want to get their first goals of the season. They want to go into this midweek match against Pacific FC in the Canadian Championship with a confidence-boosting and a morale-boosting win. Most of all, they want to get out of here with no injuries for that game as well. I think we should be in for an absolute cracker this afternoon.
Will be a good one for sure. The Rovers in the black and white moving from right to left. The Highlanders in white with the black jersey numbers moving from left to right. As mentioned, a key game for the Rovers. Begin as you mean to go on this week. 3 difficult games as well. Highlanders, Pacific, and Harborside next week. 3 island teams. 3 days, 3 games in a week here for TSS as they'll kick off against this Victoria team for the first time this season. Long-standing rivals from back in the USL League 2 days. And Juan de Fuca Plate rivals as well over the years in USL League 2 as well. Should be a good one here as McMillan primed and ready, the captain for TSS at center. You referee this afternoon, Steven Lebrechtausen for this one. We're in the orange, the man in the middle. And we're underway here on a overcast Saturday afternoon from Swangard as the ball nipped on towards Justin Sandu, who makes a quick save for TSS in his own 6-yard box.
As always, if you want to get in touch with us during the broadcast this afternoon, leave a comment in the YouTube stream. We'll try to get to all your comments and questions. If you want to chat about this match, the League 1 BC season, out of the size, the players, the Canadian Championship game, happy to chat about everything during the broadcast. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter at AFTN Canada.
Nicholas Brett back for Sandu. TSS having a kind of recoup here in their own zone. It's a very high press by the Highlanders so far. They get a turnover. Ando flips it ahead here for Javier Sagast. And I don't know if that was a game plan for Steve Simonson, but man, he went right to the attack here against a Rovers backline that has the guys that started against Valor. 3 of the 4 anyways is Fugo Sagawa, not in the 11 here for TSS.
Yeah, I had a good chat with Steve just before the game kicked off, just to chat about this one, and said to him, you didn't get any wins on the road last year. How are you going to change that for this season? And he felt they played so well in a number of the road games, but they maybe just didn't put in a full 90-minute performance. And that was why they didn't come away with any victories. But he thought they got off to a good start last week. He was happy with how they played in that 1-1 draw at Thunderbird Stadium with the Whitecaps on Sunday, and looking to build on that this afternoon now against the Rovers. And if they can take anything from this, it'll be a great start to the season for the Highlanders. What
a crowd as well we have on hand. It's really filled in for the second game here at Swangard. In front of us here at Swangard Stadium is Smichenko, long ball forward for Edwards, and he's going to try and get to the bounce. The Dravic will scoop it up there. I'm sure James Merriman, the head coach of Pacific, going to be watching this game after the Atletico Ottawa matchup here, the first road game of the season as well for Pacific. But can't look past this game if you're either head coach, as Darren Rusher set up really well, was somewhat pleased with his team last week after those out-fringe guys got the start for TSS in this game, or that game against Nansemont FC in a scoreless draw.
Yeah, a number of TSS's regular starters unavailable for that opener last Saturday. They were in action later on that evening in the Provincial Cup, playing for BB5 United. Justin Sandu in goals for Croatia. That game went to a penalty shootout. BB5 lifted the crown. Number of these players for TSS today took part in that game, including Nico Papake, who played the 90 minutes for TSS in the afternoon, then came on as a second half sub and scored a goal in the shootout for BB5 just a couple of hours later. So, very fit lad in the left back position, I think you can say.
Barrett now back for Spachenko.
It was a good performance by TSS last week. They just could not get the breakthrough. Certainly were the far better side against Nansemont, but they've got their more dangerous players in. It's good to see them all run about looking. I was a bit worried, I've got to say. There was a couple of crunching tackles went in that Provincial Cup final. Ivan Mejia was on the wrong end of an absolute cruncher and was limping for a lot of the rest of that game, but he looks to be not showing the ill effects of that this afternoon. Good thing as well from Croatia's Provincial Cup run. Justin Sandu involved in 2 penalty shootouts and a number of saves that he made as well. So he's got that experience just in case if that Canadian Championship game on Wednesday does go to penalties. And one thing I've learned from watching Justin in those 2 shootouts is he can certainly read what way the penalty taker is going. So that should be something Pacific should really have in the back of their minds and be a little bit worried about if it goes to penalties.
It'll be very interesting for sure. I'm sure we'd have a lot of onlookers if that game went to PKs. And obviously an interesting one coming up on the week, during the week.
Yeah, sorry I can't afford to take you over, Gideon, but...
It's okay. I've accepted it. It's been, it's been tough, but I'll be okay.
I mean, we talked about it in the first game. It was you or the dog, and the dog was always going to win.
I'll allow it.
Although if I give you a treat, we'll see how you perform, and if you can outperform her, we'll maybe take you.
McMillan, a great threaded ball through from Edwardson on the turn.
Just a couple of turns too many there. I think he needed to hit it after that first one.
Kobe Greaves came in to nip that ball away for the Highlanders, and here's Kensho Ando for the visitors here. So Highlanders, I mentioned, very high press, not committing too many numbers forward on possession here as Sagas will collect the ball, but out of possession, they press like no tomorrow.
Yeah. And they'll take a lot of confidence from that draw against the Whitecaps last week. Scored both the goals in that one. It was an own goal that gave the Whitecaps the lead in the 58th minute. Nick Park then coming up with the equaliser 2 minutes from time. Buried a rebound from close in. Park not featuring in this one. We saw a lot with the Highlanders last season. It is a very different travelling roster that they had as opposed to the home games. Some of the older, more international players didn't make the trip, but it's been also a very interesting roster rebuild by Steve Simonson. 13 UNBC Timberwolves players, current and alumni, on this Highlanders side. Simonson, of course, the head coach of the Timberwolves during the Canada West season. Just 4 UVic Vike players, and interestingly, 6 Mount Royal Cougar players as well from out of Calgary. A couple of those, Schaefer and Rogozinski, had played League 1 Ontario last summer, but with the League 1 Ontario season overlapping the Canada West season a little bit, they've chosen to play in League 1 BC this time around. And the Highlanders, the happy recipients of that news.
Edwardson out on the touchline for the Rovers. Back for McMillan. Trying to find Polisi, collected by the Highlanders. And on the ball there is Victorious Gordon Hall, the number 17. Wide for Francisco Bartolillo now.
few of these players on the Highlanders side as well, the older guys, they know Connor McMillan very well from way back in the college days. They've had some battles over the years. Reigniting those this afternoon.
When is it ever a clean 0-0 game between these two? I don't think we've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, we said last week that we were very surprised that that one finished 0-0 because we know how good attacking forces both the Nosema and TSS are, but this is another one as well. If this finished goalless, you'd be absolutely stunned by the end of it. Thankfully, nowhere near as hot this afternoon as well. It's a nice long ball forward there from Barrett, looking for Mahia. I just can't keep that one in. Nicholas Barrett, one of the newer additions to TSS Rovers roster, was outstanding. Him and Shmachenko together in that Canadian Championship win against Valor, they were just phenomenal centre-back pairing out there.
Yeah, and I saw the lineup come out and I saw Barrett, who's this guy? And then he just was sensational against Valor, rose to the occasion. A guy from the UFE Cascade program, and him and Smichenko were excellent pairing. And sometimes those guys that you're not sure about or don't know much about can step up. Here is Polisi now. Ivan Mejia for TSS on the wing. Finding Zohar back for Mejia rather, just a bit too heavy in the touch. And now it's collected by the Highlanders, trying to move it ahead with speed. And away comes Gregor Smith for Victoria. Sandy way out of his net here. Smith didn't try and take it in a good, calm release of the ball there by Barrett.
I mean, Barrett was a very late addition to the squad as well. I'd gone to training on the Monday before that Valor game, and I was saying to Willie, who's this guy? And then he's telling me, and then 2 days later he's playing out of his skin in a Canadian Championship game. But he's got a very good pedigree as well. He's a 6'1" German. Played his youth soccer with Mainz over in Germany.
We're going to call him a turtleneck guy or something. He's got that turtleneck about him there. The equipment is that ball cut across from Mejia, just rather out of the reach. And a throw-in coming up for TSS if the ball was out of play, which it doesn't. I think the play was blown dead for a foul there, actually.
I thought Mejia's eyes were wide open there for that as another spectacular finish, very similar to where he scored against Valor. But just going back to Nicholas Barrett as well, it's a guy, he's been playing for UFE in Canada West, but he has got a lot of experience over in Germany at U17, U19 level. He played for an absolutely fantastically named team over there. Wormatia Worms is their name. That's the B side, so they get called the Worms.
Greaves finding Endo, and now Francesco Bartolillo wide for Gregor Smith. Trying to take on Papa K, whips it back across, looking there, and some slips already on the pitch here. Maybe a bit damp out there as the playing surface.
It was definitely spitting between the two games when I was down on the track. It was coming down a little bit.
It's pretty chilly as well out there. 11 minutes past kickoff here at Swangard Stadium on this Saturday.
And I love that there's a little kid wearing a Messi shirt running around with a World Cup at the moment on the track.
Very fitting. For Hoover now. Finding Mejia. Brett now for Danilo Smichenko for TSS.
TSS, of course, only 11 games away from being at the Club World Cup in 2024.
Wishful thinking.
It'll be 2025, I guess.
Just getting rid of that one there was Daniel Zadravic, and Steve Simonson tried to stick a leg out and get a touch there. Obviously, his assistant coach is Francesco Bartolillo, who's one of those player coaches as well, one of a number this year in League 1 BC, who's actually on the pitch after a decorative career with not just the Highlanders USL League 2, but also UNBC.
Yeah, 5 years UNBC. Very dangerous player in his time. 69 appearances, 16 goals, 8 assists. He's definitely a guy that made that Timbero side tick. Moved into a player coaching role as well. And he's one of the older guys that all these teams in League 1, they need to have those older heads out there. And something that TSS have done very well. With the overage player rules, though, in League 1, it does mean that the team that you saw on the pitch against Valor is unlikely to ever be on the pitch at the same time, just because of the rules.
Mejia now tidy play towards Polisi. Been quiet so far, but you know he can pop up at any moment as he tries to play it through for Edwardson.
Polisi playing a bit of a deeper playmaker role in this one, with McMillan chosen to lead the line, with Edmondson, Edwardson and Mejia either side of him. Another slip out there in that clearance. It definitely does seem to be causing some problems out there.
Well, it's the same front four that we saw against Valor on that beautiful night a couple of weeks ago here at Swangard. Is down the line Bartolelo picked up by Papake for Verhoeven.
First time they've played together as well since that match. They want to get that chemistry and everything fully flowing in time for Wednesday.
Tyler Dillon now for Ali Zohar for McMillan. Over the top for Edwardson. Beautiful ball. Flag stays down for Edwardson. Cuts it back across goal. Might be there for Mejia. And it's a foul again. Mejia pushing the back on a Highlanders player. That was Javier Sagast. On 14 minutes here from Swangard. No score.
No real clear-cut chances for either side yet either. Couple of messages in the chat. Darren Bennett says, "Let's go Rovers." The Super Mexican says, "Both teams wish they had Daniel Davidson up top." Do wonder if that is Daniel Davidson's burner account.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's one guy that I wondered about having him on the Rovers squad this season. Obviously was last year.
Again, it kind of falls into the age thing. It's like there's a couple of guys that I'd kind of put in touch with TSS that were wanting to play League 1 this year, but they're over the 23 age group, and because of the limited amount of appearances that you can have, you've got to play the younger guys out there. It does make it more difficult because they're not going to be getting as many minutes as they want over this season.
Tyler Dillon from SFU also played in altitude last year, started at center back last week as Shai Zarjanpour, who's not in the squad today for TSS, but he was excellent. Same with Dillon last week in that against a very potent Not-Samot team. Yeah,
Darren Rusher afterwards, when we spoke to him, had said he was so impressed with how Dillon and Shai had played together. Dillon getting rewarded with the start again this week in the right back position. He's played right back at college. We saw him play a really good centre-back role with altitude last year. Him and Nathan Walters had a good pairing, but can also play the full-back position as well. And he was one of those guys that really impressed us on the altitude team last year. Great to see him in a TSS shirt.
And here come TSS. Mejia in a good position for the Rovers. Mejia, the shot deflected. There was Polisi, and a great little trickery play by McMillan to free up Mejia in the middle. And McMillan was there.
Mejia does that so well, that little cut inside to try and get the shot off. Just had too much traffic in front of him there.
And it's easy to read as a defender, but easy to read and easy to stop are two different things. So Mejia having his way here. Mejia with the right back. I usually say Mejia. Now with the pronunciation adjustment we've made, Mejia is the way to go. Papake now for Edwardson. Switching there for McMillan and away by Keyshawn Brooks, the defender for Victoria. Now Dillon for McMillan.
Rovers just keen to get on very quickly with this.
Verhoeven. Back for Smichenko here. Polisi. And a wasted ball there from Polisi for Edwardson.
And characteristically sloppy ball there from Matteo. TSS certainly are moving the ball around better, and they already feel like they've got a little bit more oomph to them than we saw against Not-Samot. It's turning that oomph and that pressure, though, into chances, and they've not really had any clear-cut ones. They've had a couple of blocked efforts, and they're huffing and they're puffing and they're getting closer. And you just feel that once they do blow that wall down, that there might be a couple more goals in this one.
Here's Smichenko for the Rovers, finding Ali Zohar. Now Tyler Dillon for TSS. Edwardson for Zohar. Good possession of the ball for Grand Verhoeven now of TSS. Papake. Down the line from Hea. Away there by Gregor Smith. Throw now for Nico Papake of former SFU Red Leaf. Played with the Rovers in the past as well in their USL League 2 days.
Treble winner this past amateur season as well with BB5 United, winning the VMSL Premier, Imperial Cup and the Provincial Cup. That team will be heading to Halifax in October to try and win another national title.
Edwardson trying to find Palisi, a little clip ball, he did. Palisi back to goal, trying to get his foot to the ball for Zohar. Now trying to find Mejia to his left.
No one in particular there.
Palisi top of the 18. Again trying to thread it through for Mejia and away by Smith at half for Nicholas Barrett now of TSS.
It's so noticeable how the Highlanders are closing down every Highlander player that gets the ball in or around the box. It's like two men
and
on
you didn't
them.
see this against Valor Notsaman, how TSS has limited time on the ball here, and they're trying to make decisions as Smichenko fouls the midfielder Kobe Greaves for the Highlanders, and a free kick quickly taken by Victoria.
Certainly had a very interesting discussion with somebody about that TSS Valor game and the fact that Valor and CPL sides, they're not used to playing teams the way that TSS play, because it's just constant attack, and they don't ease up off the gas. And when you're not used to playing that and defending against that, you find yourself all at sea, and you saw that against Valor. Now, of course, they don't have that surprise aspect now for Pacific, but you're seeing it here as well. They're just bossing the play. And the Highlanders are really struggling to get out their half at the moment.
We saw the first 50 minutes, the Rovers a couple of times in the Valor game just try to clip the ball over the top through a runner, but Valor two-man did really well to kind of negate that later on, but then the Rovers kind of switched it up and went through the wide areas. So that'll be something to watch in the Pacific game as well on Wednesday. Ball played back here for Gisbers.
Darren Bennett in the YouTube chat says he watched the Crystal Palace game this morning, and already the first 15 minutes of this game feels like a breath of fresh air. At least I follow one team that doesn't make me sad on Saturdays.
Oh, it's good to hear, Darren.
I know that feeling. I wake up, check these 5 score, check the Wimbledon score, go back to sleep again because they've lost usually.
Is there a little sob session in between the sleep and the score checking, or just
always?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brenton Walters said he thought Mejia was going to score in that chance earlier, and feels Mejia was really good last season, and he was an outstanding player, and had a couple of trials with some CPL teams as well. Halifax had a look at him, Cavalry had a look at him.
Fallon Edwardson, who's slow to his feet here after trying to make a move in field, and Highlanders read that one well here in the 21st.
I'd like to see that one back, because that definitely looked like Edwardson was clattered there.
Bartolillo for the Highlanders. For Caden Rogozinski, Mount Royal University, the Cougars had a fantastic playoff game as well this year against the UFE Cascades. Some feistiness on and off the pitch in that one as well. Here's Gisbers for the Highlanders to his left. Off the boot of Edwardson, the throw coming up for Greaves. Make that Keyshawn Brooks of Victoria. Ando draped all over him was Zohar trying to win the ball back for TSS, and Ando pulled down a free kick here for the Highlanders. Rovers seeing a little frustrated here so far, the early going of this one on 22 minutes.
And I'll give some credit where credit's due there. The referee was right on that challenge, but Edwardson basically just fell over the guy's legs, so that was definitely a non-call.
Here's Rogozinski for the Highlanders.
It's a good advantage of having the YouTube stream 30 seconds behind us. We can go back and watch these things.
This replay sponsored by.
Oh, we need to get that in.
Barrett now with the chest to ground play for Edwardson. Nice turn.
You can see the football background that Barrett has as well. It's just, he's just so much quality out there.
Good on and off the ball. Palisi, top of the 18, trying to move to the middle. Tidily done for Verhoeven. Now let it go for Edwardson, who had a very quiet last week against Notsamont. Was Edwardson basically nullified out of the game last Saturday. Edwardson, beautiful ball through though for Dillon. Dillon now for Everton. You feel something coming here for the home side. Everton trying to move infield. Good move, though, to allow that one to go to play in the far side by Jonathan Walter.
You can just see by looking out in the pitch just now, all the Highlanders players are just clumped together so closely just now. They just are not getting a chance to breathe out there and get the ball out.
Keyshawn Brooks watched by Palisi, back for Verhoeven. Now Mateo Palisi for TSS for Tyler Dillon. All the way back for Nicholas Brett of the Rovers.
You do feel TSS need to try and spread this game a little bit and use these wings to try and draw out what has been a very compact Highlanders defensive display right now.
Now Mejia for TSS. One-on-one here against Gregor Smith. Tidy ball for Papa K did not work. And now Greaves will try and set the Highlanders the other way. Sagas slipped again at the center circle.
Do wonder if this is something we might see now at Swangard for TSS home games, as teams coming out with this kind of game plan, trying to just really stifle them by getting so many players behind the ball, when just 2 players seem to be going to every Rovers guy that gets the ball in and around the edge of the box, as I was mentioning.
We've seen many times here when the Rovers open up teams how many more goals they get after getting one. As Smith down this right channel here, offside is Sanu with a thumping grab of the ball there. Smith went over and right into the Swangard, so I'm sure said a couple of things on his way by.
That shows you the danger the Highlanders have, because that was a nice little ball through there to Smith. Just hadn't timed the run perfectly there, but that's something that they're certainly going to watch. Kyriakopoulos. I won't go with Papa K this time. I'll go with his proper name, and then I just balls it up. But there we go. But it's like he was drawn very much in there, so that's something that they are going to have to watch for.
Well, it's interesting how wide the Rovers' outside backs play. Papa K and Dillon as well pull the cross, and that allows Verhoeven to drop quite deep. But Palisi now is kind of floated to a center forward role alongside Edwardson, with McMillan dropping back. So very fluid.
I do like that a little bit better, I've got to say. I know Mateo can certainly play the deeper role, but for me, you get the best out of him when he's kind of more up top. But now they've seemed to have switched back a little bit there.
One thing TSS don't have is height on the ball, or for those driven balls in, but they are so skilled on the deck, with the ball on the deck, that they can create those opportunities off the rush.
And their tallest guy in the front line is Eric out on the wing there.
Papakyriakopoulos back now for Palisi.
I know when I watched the pre-season friendly with TSS and Vancouver FC, Mateo was kind of playing the role that we're seeing today. He was dropping back almost as like a box-to-box playmaker sometimes, and dropping really, really deep, almost into like a 6 role.
And a thumping clearance here by Dillon in the parking lot on the far side. Hopefully don't hear some car alarms going off there, as it avoided about 5 cars. Perfect clearance by Dillon, avoiding an insurance claim.
That's why I always park the other side of the stadium. They'd have to
more
really
steps,
go something.
Right? Yeah, more steps.
They'd also have to go something to hit my car back there.
Goal kick for Sandus. Had a quiet first 26 here.
Yeah, it's not been very much to deal with defensively, and what they have had to deal with, TSS have mopped up with ease, really. Does feel the game's gone into a little bit of a lull now after that kind of frantic first 15-20 minutes.
Haven't seen any really real flying tackles yet. You know, Smichenko can lay those down if he needs to, as the referee Steven Lebrichthausen trying to tell Dino Smichenko to hurry up here. It's back for Kobe Greaves.
Meow Mixology in the YouTube chat says it's a Rovers treble this year. So we're going to win the regular season League 1 title. We're going to win the championship game. Of course, there's the interprovincial games as well, and the Canadian championship. So I say the quadruple's on.
Sagas through for the Highlanders. Cuts it back across goal. Bundled wide at the back door there by Gisbers. What a rush by the Highlanders, so quickly breaking down the Rovers' defence, Michael.
That's a couple of times now in the last few minutes. They've got forward really quickly out there, and Sagast, you feel, should have done better that. I think he needed to hit that first time, but the Highlanders got numbers forward, and that is something that TSS have to watch for. They've been very quick in the transition plays and getting those numbers forward.
Corner kick here for the Highlanders there first. Left-footed ball in from... Ooh, that was
Eric
Graves.
Edwardson had to get his head to that. That was going to be an Olympico.
What a ball clipped in there by Kobe Greaves.
That curled beautifully in. And there's not too much of a wind out there either, but Rovers now have a chance to break and just carried a little bit too far forward there by Polisi.
Feel Will Cromack down on our right, watching anxiously here, hoping no injuries happen, hope his team plays well. And these games so important, not just for fitness, but just to play the right way going into the next game, the structure that he wants. Papa K through for Polisi. And ushered out there by Rogozinski.
Yeah, just that reminder for anyone that is unaware, for the Canadian Championship games, Will Cromack is in charge, just kind of finishing the job he started with the League 1 Championship last season. Darren Rusher, though, is the man that will be taking the Rovers forward after this. He's the head coach all season long for the League 1 games, and then if they're back in the Canadian Championship next year, it will be Darren that will be the man at the helm for that. Unbeaten as a head coach right now.
Yes. Yes, he is. The griller, Darren Rusher. Played through there for Smith. Good tackle and a brave one by Barrett. Wow. Physicality at the 4 there for Barrett. And what a play there by Bartolillo as to be a throw in here.
Highlanders certainly looked the better side over the last 5 minutes. They've started to settle and kind of withhold that early pressure and come into this now. Steve Simonson yelling instructions from his dugout area, but TSS pick this ball up and come forward.
Edwardson on the attack for TSS. Mahia rather to his left, and what a job defensively there by Gordon Hall, and a foul as he was pulled back by Polisi. And Rovers showing a little bit signs of frustration here through 30.
Just noticing someone sitting in front of us taking notes. I'm not sure if it's referee assessment or if it's someone taking notes for Pacific AFC, so I'll keep an eye on that. Might have to get hold of those notes and burn them before the end of this one.
Yeah, where's your matches anyways? I saw them earlier. Bartolillo now ahead of it. Brett will let it go there for Justin Sandu. Now for Danilo Smichenko.
It's okay. I think he's from League 1, judging by what's on the outside of his folder. So we're okay.
Threat nullified for all you on-watchers.
That's a loose, sloppy ball there from Ali Zohar, who doesn't really feel on it this afternoon, I've got to say. A little bit sluggish out there, and a heavy collision there on Nico Papake, and he goes down in a heap. Holding his face.
And his knees, so it happened at the same time, I guess. Gabe Escobar on the bench today for TSS, so...
Fantastic to see him back in the fold.
A like-for-like sub, I'm sure, with Papake if he's unable to continue, which he's up, which is good news for TSS.
Yeah, Escobar, such a key player for this Rover side. Earned a move to Halifax Wanderers after winning the championship last year. Things didn't... I mean, he did well when he was there, and I thought he was excellent. It was a shoo-in to get a contract. But with Patrice Geyser coming in, wanting more of his own players in, Escobar, one of those players, sadly having to make way.
Papake now clips it back in towards McMillan. Collected, though, by the Highlanders out wide for Francesco Bartolillo. Ahea watching him clip back there for Smith and into the Rovers half for Nicholas Barrett. Verhoeven now back for Smichenko.
So we're now through 120 minutes of men's action, Gideon, and we've yet to see a goal in the men's league here at Swangard to start the 2023 season.
After the Valor game, I didn't have that in my bingo card, that's for sure. Mahia now through for Verhoeven, might fall, though, to Polisi. Mahia, beautiful ball out wide for Papake. This is better for TSS. Papake clips it across for Polisi. Away there well by Keyshawn Brooks and collected by Walter. Ken Choano now the veteran of this Highlanders team and as well UNBC Timberwolves. Finding Bartolillo. Rogozinski now on the half turn back for Daniel Zadravic.
Keyshawn Brooks, another one of the new additions to this Highlanders roster, and guy I watched come through the Whitecaps Academy, and I know they were very high on him. He went off to college initially with Oregon State until COVID and everything hit before transferring to Mount Royal. He's certainly a great addition for this Highlanders backline.
They had Wataru Oguchi last year, left back. Did Steve Simonson Seymour has a knack for finding good outside back talent like that, and him and Gregor Smith as well. Jonathan
Walter, the Mount Royal player and Highlander as well, came through the Highlanders Academy, so he's Highlanders through and through. Certainly feel that he's had a part to play in talking his teammates into having a fantastic summer playing for the Highlanders, being over on the island. Anything to get you out of Calgary, really, I would imagine, is quite a plus.
Kobe Greaves plays it ahead now for Bartolillo. Losing that one now, it's McMillan for Palisi. Edwardson with some room to attack on that far flank. Just got knocked off the ball there, and a foul as Edwardson hauled down rather aggressively there by Walter. And a free kick going the way of the TSS Rovers here. Minute number 34 from Swangard, no score yet.
I mean, last week's goalless game, it was a entertaining game at points. I think this one feels it's been probably a little bit better, I would say, through the first 33 minutes or so. Definitely needs a goal just to kind of spring this open. I think we'll have a very end-to-end thing if either one of these teams can get the breakthrough before half-time.
Look at Brett bouncing around there, trying to get in a good position to the free kick. It's Papa K with a ball whipped in towards Edwardson. Grabbed by Zadravic there in the 35th. What a move off the free kick from Double E there.
Beautiful ball in there and a flashing header from Edwardson. I knew I was going to call me. I've only known the guy for like 5 years.
Feels like longer than that. Big advocate for AFTN. Likewise for Eric, who's so close at times to another professional contract. Went over to play in Germany after a Rovers season at Div 2, I believe it was, in Germany, or Div 3. And just a great human being, great player as well. Pacey.
Last year's Golden Boot winner as well in League 1 with 10 goals. And check out his YouTube channel because he does some blogs. He did a really good blog after the game last week.
Mahea now. And find Edwardson. And
good ball forward, just a run not getting made. The understanding, disconnect, that's a fantastic word to use. I'll write that down for future use, I think. But the disconnect there between the front four, it's
not usual.
No, it's not usual. It's a little bit concerning. But as I said, this is the first time that these guys have played together since that Valor game.
Here's Sagast from distance for the Highlanders. Ooh, maybe looked a little bit closer than it should have been. But
yeah, I'm not sure that was the best option there because they had options. Gregor Smith was screaming for the ball as he made the run up that right flank.
Willie Cullen and Brennan are going to watch us back and say, do they work for us? How critical we are?
They love the criticism.
Yes. Has to be said, though, a different team so far through 36 here as the sun starts to pop out ever so slightly to our right.
Criticism makes everything better, makes people better. Talking of which, I'll speak to you at halftime about a few things. A joke.
Dreaded halftime chats.
It's usually just about biscuits, it's fine.
Yeah. Barrett now for TSS for Zohar.
Just feels like somebody needs to take this game by the scruff of the neck because we see Will Cromack going down giving a little bit of advice to Darren Rusher.
Like a trainee.
He can't just watch a game.
Yeah.
Walking around in his big white jacket like a fluffy polar bear.
They are quite sharp. I saw Chelsea wear one for the first game, and Willie in the Canadian Championship game. I thought, man, those are sharp. Might have to nab one of those from the Rovers staff.
Yeah, I looked. I didn't see any for us. I was trying to get some Highlanders swag from Steve before the game. When he saw me wearing my Rovers tracksuit top, he was like, "Oh, do you want a Highlanders one?" I was like, "Of course."
Probably saw you coming, rolled his eyes, and oh, here comes McCall.
What free stuff is he wanting this time?
Mahea down this near side for TSS, making the charge against Rogozinski, wins the ball really well. Ivan Mejia turn and a foul not given there. Rogozinski.
I think it was the dramatic yell as he went down there that kind of cost him there. I think there was a foul, as there was indeed there from Verhoeven.
Grant's brother, if you recognize the name, and former Whitecaps 2 player Noah Verhoeven, now playing his trade with York in CPL. Former Pacific FC player as well.
Yeah. Grant is a TFC lifer, they like to refer to him as.
TSS lifer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We talked about TFC before the game, so I mean that could probably...
He's not a TFC lifer. Letters are hard.
Yes. Got Erickson in there, called Steve Scott Simonson earlier.
I seem to have some kind of dyslexia going on this afternoon.
You're quite chipper, though, so we'll take that in consideration.
So I've got the Whitecaps game to go after this.
Yes.
We'll see how chipper I am by the time we get down to that. Another 3-game Saturday for me. Last week it was 2 TSS games and the Provincial Cup final.
I should have gone out to that. I was wanted to get home for
it was a very entertaining game.
The Toronto Maple Leafs
Croatian fans that were there were interesting. Berating ball boys for throwing the ball on too quickly. Well, I say ball boys. It was just kids watching at the side of the pitch. They weren't even official ball boys. They had Croatian music playing. They had their flares ready.
Ball whipped in there is Verhoeven away. I'm sure Justin Sandu playing for Croatia felt like it was a Swangard home game here with the Swangardians behind him with the flares and all that, the pyro. Yeah,
when Croatia won the semi, they had set off some red flares and everything as well. It was quite dramatic for a Provincial Cup game, I've got to say. Like, if you enjoy League 1 action, we'll have the TSS games all season long on the League1 BC YouTube channel. All the home games we'll have coverage, myself and Gideon. I'll also have the call on the Altitude FC home games. They won't be live, but they will go up within 48 hours. All games will be shown as well on the League 1 BC channel. So you'll be able to, probably by end of Thursday, have every single game. They will try and get them up as soon as they can over the course of the week. But you will be able to watch the action all season long on League 1 BC's YouTube account.
Papa K now for McMillan as Gisber's draped all over him there in a foul, and not a comfortable looking one for McMillan there, the man they call C-Mac.
He was another one of the players that was a bit in the wars in that Provincial Cup final last Saturday. Every time a tackle went on him or Mejia, I was like, oh.
Sure, Will Cormack didn't even bother watching that game to make him too nervous about the upcoming affair on Wednesday.
I was sending them WhatsApp updates about the tackles flying in, and then I got told, good news only, please, Michael.
The block button's just hovering over there. Throwing here for the Rovers, and this left channel is Mejia comes over to take now. It'll give way for Papa K, who quickly plays it ahead for Mejia. Over the top, beautiful ball for Eric Edwardson. He might be in behind the defense here. Lays it off. Polisi just over. What a setup. That would have been a beauty for Matteo Polisi, and a rare flash of brilliance in this half of the home side just goes over.
I mean, it's only week 2 of the season, but if that had gone in, that was up there for goal of the year contender for sure. From the initial ball by Mejia, the way that Eric Edwardson brought that down, and then the little play back there and just misses by about a foot over the bar. Great movement. It's starting to come together now for TSS. They started strong. Highlanders had about a 5-10 minute spell where they really kind of came into the game, but TSS seem to have taken this back over a little bit now. Can either side, though, get the breakthrough? We've got 4 minutes of this half. I would not foresee there being much time added on. Kind of almost looks like there's a 2 on the subs board.
Brett for Papa K in the turn, him and Smith combine, and now it's Francisco Bartolillo for the Highlanders. Bowled over there by Polisi. It's fair, says the referee, and away we go for Polisi.
And a slip there. Polisi looking for the free kick, not getting it.
Mejia lost the ball. Here's Smith. Little 1-2 back out wide for Smith as Mejia. And Smith get into it here.
Mejia not liking the attention there from Gregor Smith.
Chased him down about 20 yards to give a shove to him there.
What if anything's carried over from the UNBC UFE games over the Canada West season? But they're all friends again for now.
See what happens in the second half of that battle there. Zohar.
That's when you just leave your foot in a little bit longer when they go in for the tackle.
You're still in for the Rovers. Ahead for Edwardson.
McMillan needs to get back on side here.
Keyshawn Brooks now for Jonathan Walter. Distributes that ball forward there, and Smichenko with his head to it. Verhoeven now for Tyler Dillon. Edwardson trying to find Verhoeven. Nice little touch pass to him. And now Smichenko for TSS will recover and find Justin Sandu for the Rovers. Has to be said, TSS holding a lot of possession here. Had a couple of chances. And the two chances they had, one was off Eric Edwardson, free kick header, just went wide in the police. Just breakdowns by the Highlanders. Otherwise than that, they've been excellent defensively here.
Yeah, they've been very solid and hard to break down here.
Edwardson, Polisi, beautifully down. Polisi, a step over, and a really well-won ball by Rogozinski. Sets the Highlanders on the way, but again, just two numbers for there in Ando and Walter as the Rovers collect. Zohar for Polisi for Edwardson. And now it's Keyshawn Brooks for Victoria.
I mean, in many ways, this is an ideal test for TSS for Wednesday night, because Pacific are not going to get broken down as easily as Valor did.
No. They have some height as well, and Easton Ongaro's still scoreless for Pacific and their new big signing from the off-season.
I mean, I've got to say that I feel offensively Pacific are definitely a threat, but I think they are susceptible at the back, and especially in the goalkeeping position. Gazdak's not had a great start to the season.
No, and the way they were broken down against Vancouver in the first few games of this season, or first game of this season at Starlight Stadium, you kind of wondered what it would be like with Mira Jaguar at the back, but they are susceptible, and that'll be interesting to watch this Wednesday as well.
I mean, it will be hard for TSS to try and break down, but saying that, Pacific will be more attacking than the Highlanders are in this game as well, so they will get chances. There will be space left at the back. And TSS certainly have the players that can do that damage and cause Pacific a handful of problems during that one. I really am looking forward to this. I genuinely feel the shot could be on, but I could see it going to penalties as well.
Ando now for Jonathan Walter. Finds Sesco Bartolillo. Smith now for Bartolillo. Ahead there for Walter. Now here's Kobe Greaves for the Highlanders for Kensho Ando here in the 45th. As Brooks shoved over, and there's Tyler Dillon for TSS.
Let's move into first half stoppage time here. 2 minutes. Officially 1 minute it's now changed. It was, we were told 2, and he's now changed it to 1. Referee clearly in a bit of a hurry to get in at half time now.
Been a pretty cagey 45 here.
Maybe his DoorDash delivery just arrived a little bit earlier than he was expecting. He's just changed that now.
Zadravic forward here towards the Rovers half for Barrett. Play all the way back to Sandu. Is too short. Walter the way through. Stopped by Sandu. Walter still for the Highlanders. Just puts it wide. He can't believe it. But a rare mistake in the back line for the Rovers allows the Highlanders just about to take the lead at halftime.
Jonathan Walter is going to watch that back. I thought that was going to end up in the back of the net. It was a poor giveaway, you've got to say, by Barrett to start with, and then Walter just pounced on that. Sandu did well to come out quickly to smother the danger, but as soon as he was in front, I know he had Smichenko in front of him, but you've got to put that on target from there. You cannot put that wide from that position. But a huge let-off there for TSS Rovers, who the much better side in that first half getting in, but teams are going in goalless.
Should be an interesting second half. Rovers looking to begin as they mean to go on into this Wednesday's matchup against Pacific. Your score at halftime, no score between TSS and the Highlanders. Stick around for the second half. Back for the second half here at Swangard Stadium on YouTube with Sports Canada TV in partnership with AFTN Canada. A scoreless affair so far. And for onlookers that know this TSS team well, goal scoring definitely something they pride themselves on. But goal drought so far through the first game and a half of their 2023 League1 BC campaign as they'll kick off for the second half left to right. And the Highlanders right to left in the white and black as an early slip for Edwardson. And collecting the ball here is the Highlanders. Number 11 coming in for them is David Schaefer. Out comes Keyshawn Brooks.
Another one of the Mount Royal Cougars that has been added to this Highlanders roster from Berlin. So we've got a couple of Germans on the pitch. One on each side. We'll see if we get that well-known German efficiency out there now in the second half.
Is that red cards or something? Or?
No, Vorsprung durch Technik. You might not. You might. Maybe they didn't have those car adverts over here. You might be just too young for that.
Yeah.
Last week you didn't know about plinths, which I did check, and it is not a Scottish word. So.
Okay. You mentioned something a few weeks ago or last season about a bird and a pigeon or something like that. A cat among dogs or something.
Oh, a cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I hadn't heard that one before. It's like a Trafalgar Square saying or something like that.
We'll see what I can throw into the second half for you. No changes for TSS. A couple of key players on the bench, though, for TSS if they do want to make changes. We've got Masood Habibullah, who will certainly prove a handful and might just be what TSS need in attack for this second half.
Need some height, that's for sure. It's a long ball. Mahea's in the back line for TSS. Right to the keepers at Dravik. And a big save by the Highlanders netminder in goal. And it remains scoreless.
Great little flick on there from Mahea to set that chance up, but that was a terrible weak shot there from Mahea. Straight at the keeper, and you've got to feel that he should have done better there after setting himself up fantastically. And what a ball, we've got to say as well, to allow him to set himself up. Our usual reminder, if you want to get in touch with us during the game, you can leave a comment for us in the YouTube chat or get in touch on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Happy to talk about this match, these teams. If you want to look ahead to the Canadian Championship game as well. Brooke has left a message saying up the Highlanders, so we've got at least one fan watching from Victoria. Victoria Highlanders will also be streaming their games live this season. Our good friend Ruturo back doing that.
Haven't seen any Lakeside boys here supporting the Highlanders this afternoon. Always travel pretty well.
They will be at the Pacific Athletica Ottawa game.
Right.
Priorities. It's like, it should be here. This was their original team.
Here's McMillan offside. So I'm sure they flew across Canada to Ottawa, that's for sure, for Pacific, who had a 2-0 lead after 10 minutes in Ontario against Atletico Ottawa. Their first road game after a plethora of games at Starlight. And they have to fly all the way back to play the Rovers on Wednesday. So Dravik now back, his own back line for Gisbers. Verhoeven trying to get there and collided with a Highlanders player. Now there's Mahea trying to clip it through for Edwardson. Some space here for the Rovers.
Beautiful ball and just a slightly awkward first touch there from Edwardson, but he wins the ball back here and boots it as hard as he can at his teammate Matteo Polisi.
Polisi back into the Swan Guardians there, going to make sure that ball goes back in play quickly. So Dravik now to his left for Highlanders player, plays it towards it. Opposite 17, Danilo Smichenko.
Going back to what we were saying, though, I genuinely do wonder whether there has been any Pacific fans made that long trip to Ottawa. I know there was at least 2 Vancouver FC fans that made the trip to Halifax for that game last weekend. That's a big one to try and take in.
It looks like I believe a free kick here for TSS.
The referee's pulled this back for
very good position.
A little kick that he saw on the way through, so that's good.
And for TSS, make that Polisi with Papa K.
Papa K's dad in front of us. Getting very animated, hoping his son can get a good delivery here. Costa's always out watching his son's games, whether it's here, whether it's BB5. Got to know him quite well over the past season.
Polisi with the free kick in a very good position for TSS. Matteo Polisi whips it in! Oh, what a save by Zdravik. That close for Matteo Polisi. Just about put the roof off this place. That one went in here in the 51st.
That's more like it from TSS. They've got to try and get some shots in and test the keeper here. But so far, Daniel Zdravik more than a match for anything that TSS have thrown at them. The UNBC Timberwolf.
Papake with the corner here for the Rovers.
And there's a lot of traffic in front of him just now, but that's not a great corner that came in.
Went loaded Smichenko there. I was going to say, a lot of the players' dads, but it helps you their age, so that's good. Good to build those kind of bonds and get the intel.
Get all the gossip here at AFTN. Steve Simonson moaning to his bench about something.
Played for by Zdravik to the Rovers half. That one over the head of Verhoeven. Back for Smichenko. Finds Verhoeven. Nice turn there. Looks like he slipped as well, but maintained his composure as Bartolelo plays it through. Gregor Smith behind the defense for the Highlanders. Gregor Smith saved by Sanu. Might come a second time to Bartolelo, and frantic action here to begin the second half from Swangard. And wide whips it in for the Highlanders. Back post for Walter, trying to knock it down there. Gonna have to be some speed, and good job to keep it in by the Highlanders. There's the sub there, David Schaefer. And a foul by the Rovers, Dylan, on Schaefer there. Silly place to give away a foul if you're the Rovers.
Good save there from Justin Sandu as well. That's the best bit of play from the Highlanders in this half, who hadn't really had much of the ball through the first 6 minutes. But they've shown a couple of times they can just burst into life and be a real danger to this TSS backline. Sandu forced into a save. Both keepers coming up with a couple of big stops. Hopefully this is how the action is going to continue for this second half. It would be nice to have a entertaining end-to-end half. The coaches may not agree with that.
Walter in a good position for a free kick here for the Highlanders. Walter towards the front post. Sandu didn't deal with it. And then a good job by Smichenko to just kind of usher it onto the keeper to make sure this one stays scoreless.
That ball came at Sandu like a bullet there, and they struggled to hold on to it, but no harm done in the end.
Did not expect scoreless first game and a half here this season for TSS after that game against Valor in the Canadian Championship we talked about there, but they are starting the second half really well. As you wonder if Kyle Jones just running out from the tunnel down below us will get some chances to run here. Masoud Habibullah as well. Escobar maybe. And a foul there by Edwardson. No play on advantage.
I'll give you a little stat of something I was looking at half-time. Last season, TSS were kept off the score sheet in 3 of their 12 games. All 3 of those games at Swangard.
I do remember a couple of them. Actually, you know what? The first 2 games they played here were against Unity and Rivers. And remember, the Rivers game was scoreless. Jackson Gardner was excellent in that game for the Rivers FC. John Antelov's side, he's now playing his trade overseas.
Yeah, that was a 0-0. They got a draw on that. They got 0-0 against Altitude as well. And then they lost their last game of the regular season 2-0 to Varsity as well.
Police let go. Papa K, the whip in. Sorry, that was Altitude and Varsity and the Rivers, not Unity. That was a 3-2 game against Unity. What a game that was here at Swangard as well. It's Mejia trying to clip it through for Smichenko. Now Tyler Dillon for TSS on this flank.
I still will be stunned if this finishes goalless, I've got to say, because both teams certainly have stepped the action up in the second half.
Sandu now finding Dillon. Does not feel like a scoreless game now the way this second half is gone. 10 minutes in. Verhoeven trying to make a move in field. Now down the channel for Edwardson.
That was the right idea, just the final ball there from Verhoeven. Just way too much on it to try and get Eriksson. I've done it again. Edwardson running up the wing. We should just change his name.
It's an alias.
Yes.
Smichenko now finding Ali Zohar for the Rovers. Papa K now for TSS, trying to move it down the line from Mejia. Now Barrett to... It's been excellent and positive for the Rovers. They only given up 1 goal when Smichenko and Barrett are on the pitch in almost 2 full games here with still some time to go in this second frame rather, but still some positives to take away here despite the lack of goals. Dylan ahead for Polisi, top of the Highlanders, 18. And I don't know if that's a legal throw or...
referee wants that taken again. I guess just took it before he was ready.
Zohar now for Brett. Papake looking through for Mejia.
Poor giveaway there. Just broken up well, though, by the Highlanders.
Bartolillo watched by Papake, plays it out for Smith there, and in comes Zohar smoothly for the Rovers. Got that great distribution. What can he do here? Clips it ahead for Mejia. 1-on-1 against Gregor Smith. Those two had a good battle in the first half. Out wide for Papake. Good position for TSS. Papake across for Polisi. Knocked down. Not fully. Zohar will step in for Connor McMillan. A good position for TSS. Flicked on goal there and dangerously. We talked about the own goal last week for the Highlanders, and that one was heading towards goal there, just wide to the right of Zadravic.
Looks like Kyle Jones could be coming on imminently here by the looks of it for TSS. They do feel that they maybe need to liven things up a little bit. I was wondering how soon it was going to be before Darren Rusher went to his bench.
I feel like maybe Verhoeven will be the one that makes waves. Mejia, great move in field. Abid Mejia off the side of the goal.
The side net, and it rippled beautifully, but on the wrong side, unfortunately. And a little bit worrying for TSS there. Matteo Polisi just went down under his own kind of steam there, although he seemed to be indicating that there was maybe a little kick towards him. That was another close call there for TSS.
Spachenko nods it down for Barrett to his left.
Oh, and Barrett just, clattered to the ground there. There's a way to say just taking all the time in the world that he hasn't got, but a little bit of misunderstanding it felt between Sandu and Barrett there. But this is a Highlanders team that they're going to pounce on any opportunity like that if you just drop off or fall asleep.
Looks like Matteo Polisi coming off here for TSS, for Kyle Jones.
I was wondering if we might see Polisi or McMillan maybe make way for Habibullah. Didn't really think they would make way, though, for Kyle Jones, got to say.
Polisi slightly limping as he came off the pitch there for the Rovers.
For TSS Rovers, leading the game, number 10, Matteo Polisi.
In comes Kyle Jones.
Kyle Jones.
Papake now back for Brad Jones, so instrumental in that game against Fowler. Set up the goal for Matteo Polisi. What a banger that was at the time, the 3-1 goal.
Yellow card caution and sets
Verhoeven.
Victoria Highlanders FC, number 2, Gregor Smith, in the 58th minute.
No other subs warming up just now for TSS. A little bit surprised by that, I have to say.
First card of the game is mentioned there to Gregor Smith in the 59th.
It was certainly a crunching challenge.
Yes.
You kind of want to put him under a little bit of pressure out there now.
Well, especially down the left side. Papake's been up and down that left channel really well for TSS here.
I mean, you want to be running at him to try and force him to make a tackle, maybe get a second yellow in the process, or at least make him think about not making a tackle, as the Highlanders look set to make a substitution here as well. Hamish Ogden going to be coming on. Good Scottish name, that, Hamish.
Watched him play at the FTF Combine about 3 years ago, and I thought he was excellent on that day for one of the FTF Combine teams, and a great rookie year as well for UVic. Started last week against the Whitecaps, but about to check in here for Steve Simonson.
He's played 19 games overall for...
Dangerous play there by Smichenko in his own area.
For the UVic over his 2 seasons there so far. Can get on the score sheet as well. He's got a goal and 3 assists, so might add a little bit of spark to the Highlanders, because they also feel like they need something out there to liven it up, as Kyle Jones appealing to the referee for the free kick there, not getting it.
And there's a foul by Verhoeven. You wonder if maybe Bartolillo makes way, the veteran of this Highlanders team. And will be number 4, though, Javier Sagast for the Highlanders coming in, or coming out rather. It's for Sandu of TSS through 60 minutes here, half an hour to go.
Not been Sagast's best game, I have to say. Is like we've seen him been a difference maker for this Highlander side. We've seen him be a difference maker as well for you, Vic, over the years.
Papa K trying to clip it through there for Jones.
It's been a tough game for the Highlanders midfielders to get into. It's really been bossed by TSS out there, and Highlanders in particular relying on the quick counters, and they've been very good though in their transition play. Been very good as well at forcing some turnovers as well from this TSS Rovers defence and midfield.
Verhoeven now wide for McMillan. Trying to make a wide run here is McMillan. Moving field and Anno beautifully down by McMillan to the end line. McMillan trying to get it back across. Wins a corner for his side here in the 61st. Beautifully worked there.
Just ran out of room in the end there. As the substitution will get made. You always say you don't want to make a substitution at a corner.
Especially with the delivery that Kyle Jones has. Sagast, the captain, comes off with the armband, so I have to swap that around at some point. As Hamish Ogden checks in the number 22, the skilled playmaker. As Will Cormack grabs a beverage and has a seat up to the right here with the TSS staff and says, I'm just going to relax and enjoy this game.
Header there from Nick Barrett.
Well saved by Zadravic.
That was a curling corner that came into the back post there, and Barrett met it well, but Zadravic just, again, not getting beaten there. Now Smith's got a chance to break forward here for the Highlanders.
Into the box, Barrett held there, Smichenko to Papa K out wide for Zohar. Trying to move past Bartolillo. Now Smith on the turn. Finds Ogden top of the 18. Hamish Ogden, a heavy strike blocked by Smichenko, and now the Rovers can counter. Zohar out wide. Just could not keep that ball in there, and the ball from Verhoeven.
Oh, it's nearly a hot shot from Hamish there. There used to be an old cartoon comic strip character called
I was waiting for you to
Hamish,
describe that one, yeah.
In the Roy of the Rovers comic, Hot Shot Hamish was a Scottish player, unsurprisingly, that had a very hard shot.
I shouldn't have had to take history at some point. I should have just spent more than 2 hours with Michael and know everything I need to.
Well, if you want to know about 1970s UK comics, I can fill you in on that.
Don't think I have the time of day for that, but throw one coming up here for TSS.
Got half an hour left. I can. I've actually got.
We are working, by the way.
I've got a great book about the history of UK comics and sport comics. I'll lend you it. Bring it along next week. Then quiz you the week after. Oh, a giveaway there. Verhoeven's got a chance now to
Beautiful
break here
ball
for TSS.
Mejia working away, and he's held there by Hall.
Manhandled there.
Jones might have a way through. McMillan, Mejia still in some position for the Rovers out wide. 64th, can the home side break through? Edwardson, a heavy ball out wide. Papa K will hustle to it there for TSS.
Nicely to him in the end.
Mejia
TSS were a bit slow getting the numbers forward there.
clips it in for Kyle Jones, just trying to sit back there waiting for the ball off the head of Kobe Greaves. And now it's Ogden for the Highlanders. Lost it to McMillan. Zohar for McMillan out wide here for the Rovers. Trying to stop up, slipped again there. Almost a dangerous playing surface right now. I don't know if they watered the pitch or it's just rained so much that it's become so slippery as Edwardson turns around and...
Oh, he's getting a card for that?
64th minute.
Eric does not agree with that, and I'm with Edwardson on that. There was nothing in that for me at all. But yeah, the pitch, especially down in that...
Yep.
bottom,
and in the centre as well.
I'm pointing, which is really good for the TV thing, but down in that corner... It's like it does seem very slippy, and yeah, you can see the centre as well. It's not looking great out there. I know, speaking to Darren Rusher after the game last week, he was very critical of the state of the pitch.
Yeah.
You can see it in the goal mouths as well. It's like very worn out. I mean, it is obviously early in the season. There has been a lot of rain, but we've talked so much about the Swangard pitch. It's like the jewel of the crown, and BC pitches has not lived up to its reputation this year.
Was a bit of a rough winter as well with the amount of snow that was received here, but I'm sure the City Burnaby staff did well to try and keep it up well.
It will certainly be a leveller when the Rovers take on the Whitecaps in the semi-finals in a few weeks' time.
Brett now trying to put it through for Mejia. Substitution just then for the Highlanders as Walter came out. Preston came in for the Victoria side. And now trying to play it through for Preston, just a bit too heavy. And it's grabbed by Sandu for TSS.
Another one of Steve Simonson's UNBC Timberwolves stalwarts. 4 seasons he's played out there in Prince George. The ball now played back. It certainly had a bit more life to it this half, and there's been a few close calls, but again, we kind of said about this in the women's game, it just the quality just hasn't really been there in the final third. Both keepers have had a couple of saves to make, but you expect a lot more, especially from the dangerous front four that TSS have out there, and I do feel it needs to be time to get a few changes out there, and that looks to be exactly what is happening down on the TSS bench just now. Looks like we're going to see the first appearance of the season for Gabe Escobar. The swashbuckling pirate will certainly bring a little bit of added oomph to that backline and getting up the wings. I wonder if it's going to be a like-for-like switch with Papa K, or if we might see Papa K switch over to the other side and Dylan will come off. Smichenko tries to get his foot in it. The ball thankfully breaks there to Barrett in the end, and he gets that one up the pitch. Highlanders moving the ball around quite nicely. I've got to say, I would keep a little eye on David Schaefer out here in the left wing. He's in acres of room behind Dylan here if they can get the ball over to him.
Ball clipped in. Preston was there, might fall though. For Schaefer, bravely headed away by Dillon, a flying header. Played through for Smith. Back into the area for Ogden, might still fall for Schaefer, the tricky winger. Lays it off here for Greaves. Now Schaefer. Dillon reached in really well with a nice foot for TSS, trying to push them forward here. McMillan on the turn. 1-on-3, pulled back by Hull, and a foul.
I've got to say, I think that's the best Connor could have done to get out of that with 3 men around him, as he was twisting and turning there. Edwardson now, what can he do to try and spark something? TSS still looking for their first goal of the 2023 League 1 BC season. So free-flowing with the goals they were last year as well.
Zohar ahead for Jones. Back up in the air. Headed for by Verhoeven. McMillan collided there with Rogozinski. Jones now just out of the reach of Verhoeven in the 69th. Looks like a double change coming up here for TSS. Maybe even a triple change with Escobar prepping. It's Adni Habibullah prepping to come in for TSS.
KG Adeniyi looks to be coming in possibly as well.
He had a great chance last week against Natsamot.
He looks so dangerous. I'm really looking forward to seeing a bit more of him. You have to feel Conor McMillan's maybe going to make way, and probably Eric Edwardson as well. I would maybe keep Mejia out there. But you've also got a view, you want to maybe freshen things up with a view to Wednesday as well, because you're going to have some hungry players on that bench that want to be a part of that big game against Pacific. If Habibullah can maybe get a goal here, or Adeniyi push him up the pecking order just a little bit, the informed striker. TSS averaged 2 goals a game in the last League 1 BC season, so to be at this stage of the season and still goalless is very surprising, especially with the attacking players that they do have out there.
Bartolillo now trying to hook it to his left for Ogden on the pitch there. Little spin around dance move, flipped it forward. Back on his feet, and it's there for Sandu of the Rovers here in the 70th. Barrett now to his left for Papa K. Habibullah looking to try and impress here. He didn't have the best game last week against Nantsamont. A little bit quiet to his liking. I'm sure the brother of Cameron who plays for Vancouver Whitecaps. So here's Tyler Dillon on the pitch. There was Edwardson, no call. Dillon, beautiful run through. McMillan to his right, great layoff. McMillan into the Highlanders box. Trying to make a move on Ogden. And a throw in here coming up for TSS as they try to keep the pressure on here.
Interesting, Escobar was stripped and looking to come on, but has got the penny back on now, so Darren Rusher's decided to make more change on the offensive side here.
So Mahea comes off, so does Connor McMillan as races run. 2 changes we expected here. Disappointed not to see the big guns for TSS get on the score sheet here through 70 minutes.
I mean, Mahea for me has probably been maybe the standout TSS player, I would maybe say this afternoon.
Big kid, Giannini, the number 2. Unusual number 2 for a striker, but he certainly can score goals. The UNB Red, as well of U Sports. So come in for Ivan Mahea. Frustrating afternoon there.
Adeniyi, the AUS 2022 most valuable player, so comes with some pedigree to this Rover side. There's a lovely ball floated in there, but just too much on it there from Edwardson. Just gets away there from Adeniyi at the back of the box from Mansfield in the UK. Wonder if he's a Stags fan. That's Mansfield Town's nickname. You're looking at me as if I've just come up with some weird thing that, again. Highlanders look set to make another substitution as well.
Hagon Kim about to check in for the Highlanders. Offside flag goes up there on Victoria's. Ogden was ahead of the play there. Sminchenko on the ball now for TSS. Big moment for this Rovers team. 19 minutes to go, trying to go into Wednesday's game against Pacific on the backs of a victory. It does so much. Not just a moral victory, but just the ability to go in with confidence on the backs of a win as Gregor Smith comes out for Hagon Kim after Smith had a yellow card in the second half on a battle. Good shift from Gregor Smith in this one here. The defender. As he went up for not the ball there, but a body, and got the body on his man there is Ogden. And a foul. Make that Rogozinski, but either way, a foul on the big striker. He is massive.
Well, we were saying, and like decrying the lack of height in the Rovers attack, so we've added that now out there.
I'd love to see you try and interview him. You probably have to reach your mic up to like 3 feet to try and reach him.
That's one way you do it, but you're in a step. It's like, oh, we just do this in the stand.
Yeah, just come this way.
Yeah.
Just come this way, yep. Sanu now for Barrett.
Don't actually have the height of him. I will check that out. We'll have that for the next game.
Papa K now for TSS. Played with Unity last year in League 1 British Columbia. What was a difficult year, as described by Mike Sheeran in the pregame of the Harborside game last week, as they took on Harborside in their inaugural game, and said they didn't have the cohesiveness, but this year certainly look up for it, as well as they're in action as well tomorrow. Offside flag goes up on Dylan.
Flag there. Yeah, I mean, Unity, much like Altitude actually, they were starting to really find their feet as the season started to come to an end. Maybe the longer season is going to be more beneficial to them this year.
Highlanders not having the best year last year. 6 wins out of 12 games played. Actually, 3 wins out of 12 games played.
All those wins as well came at home as well. So, I mean, if they go away from this 2-game trip over here against the Whitecaps and TSS with a couple of points, I think Steve Simonson will be very happy with that.
Good tackle by Barrett. Here is Edwardson.
They haven't really struck me as a team that's gone for it this afternoon, I would have to say. They're happy to take their chances that they get on the break, but they haven't really been forcing this, much like Nosimo really last week. This has been the issue for TSS, is trying to find a way to play against teams like this. trying to find ways to break them down and unlock very stingy defensive displays. I mean, the Highlanders have been excellent out there defensively. Midfield, TSS is controlled, and they just haven't got that little spark up front. Maybe the double substitution that we just saw is going to bring that now.
Another double sub coming up for Darren Rusher's Rovers is Gabe Escobar and Nasib Baines coming in. Might think maybe Edwardson coming off for Barrett or Dillon.
A couple of defenders if they play their natural positions.
Nasib did play a bit of midfield last week for TSS against Notsamont. Clipped in by Papa K for Edwardson.
I could see maybe Grant Verhoeven maybe making way.
Here's Smichenko for TSS, who hope will be a big part of that game on Wednesday against Pacific. Sendu now for Zohar. Smichenko. Now Zohar for the Rovers. Clips it ahead for Adanii. Rogozinski there. Not much in that for Adanii. Rogozinski just went to ground holding his head. Adanii now for Kyle Jones. Cleared away by Rogozinski. A firm tackle there, and Barrett on the ball for the Rovers out wide. Forward by Papa K for Habibullah. Might skip by a man. Habibullah trying to get there. It's back for Adadi. Edwardson in space to his right. Eric Edwardson was there. Knocked down by Gordon Hall and away, but what a delivery. Good idea there.
Gordon Hall in the right place at the right time there for this Highlanders defensive side. That was more like it from TSS, and the ball just could not break the way that Habibullah wanted it. It was some good defensive play there. So I thought our stream had gone down again for a second there. Everything is fine up. As the ball just flashes past there, and Barrett getting up a little bit gingerly there, but hopefully everything okay there with the big defender. He's just stretching it out. We do get the double substitution now, and it is Grant Verhoeven that is making way for the number 16, Nasib Baines. Another player that's come through the Whitecaps Academy. Plays his college soccer in 2021 at least with University of Toronto Varsity Blues. Also coming on is Gabriel Escobar. And it is Nico Papakiriakopoulos that is off for TSS. So a like-for-like switch there.
Here's Bartolelo for the Highlanders ahead for Ogden. Good sliding tackle by Dillon. He's been excellent the last two games here for TSS. So Ogden will leave the ball for Gordon Hall, a long run. And now they'll let to go for Hagon Kim to throw here, the UNBC Timberwolf as well.
Into the final 12 minutes of this one here at Swangard Stadium. Amazingly still goalless.
Not for lack of chances. Rovers, I'm sure, going to try to press the issue here in the last 12 minutes of play. Kim towards Sandu. Just held the line there well.
I thought he'd carry that over from our angle up here, I've got to say. But
Escobar now running down the left side. He scored a beautiful goal last year at home here.
Kyle Jones had made the run there, and the ball just was not played through for him. But TSS do keep the pressure on as the Swangardians fed up waiting for a goal. They've just let the smoke off anyway.
We've seen this before, saw it last week.
It's like they've bought it, they may as well use it.
Denis battling with Ando. There's Baines and a foul. Free kick here for Highlanders inside their own half as the visitors about to make a sub here. It's Abdelaziz Youssef, who used to play for Halifax Wanderers in the CPL and Rivers FC as well last year, coming in. And it'll be Francisco Bartolelo coming out in the 80th minute.
Youssef not featuring last week against the Whitecaps.
Good ad for Steve Simonson as well.
That's a fantastic addition.
He looked very good last year with Rivers FC. Saw him score a goal against Altitude and the North Shore Kinsman Field.
Always amazed you remember those specifics.
Yes.
I was just digging out my notes to see how many goals he got last year.
He's on a PK, I believe, for Rivers.
Yes, that was his only goal, actually, of the season.
Sandu back for Smichenko.
Between your memory and my bits of paper, we get there in the end.
If we ever have to work outside in the rain and you have paper notes, our broadcast would go to trash. This here's Jones from distance. Kyle Jones!
Tries an audacious chip there.
Edwardson down in a heap here for the Rovers. Obviously the most concerning part of this.
Yeah, the Rovers asking for a free kick. Doesn't look like it has been given.
Will Cormac watching intently here to my right. He's giving me anxiety how much he's moving around here. He's got his steps in for sure.
You were talking about open air press boxes. Vancouver FC's press box.
I did see that, yes.
Is very open air. And up a lot of flights of stairs.
Gonna have to carry you down for the
halftime.
halftime.
If it gets over 25 degrees, I'm not making it to the top of there.
We'll have to have a pulley system for all your notes and stuff and just bring it up for you.
It's like, where's Michael? Oh, he's just halfway. He's getting there. We're living on a prayer.
At a knee just out of his reach, and now Highlanders with numbers. Close proximity there to Preston was Ali Zohar.
Dylan keen to get on with this. Just no movement for him the way that he was wanting it there.
Jones for Dylan. Lost at Ogden there now for Preston. And well wide for Schaefer. Highlanders have numbers. David Schaefer to the box for Victoria. Ushered out a play really well by Smichenko. Smoothly done. And the Rovers are off to the attack here.
There's definitely an increased urgency here from TSS. They do not want to finish their first two games of the season winless and goalless.
Ball from Escobar off the chest to Jones. Now it is Kensho Ando for the Highlanders. Through there for Youssef. Look at the pace there. He's got some room to roam for the Highlanders in the far wing. Abdelaziz Youssef one-on-one against Barrett. Hauls him down. And balls to there for Ogden. Might fall still. Here's Greaves, top of the 18. Kobe Greaves to the Highlanders. Doesn't have a shot. Now Ando will think about it. Near side for Schaefer. David Schaefer tries to pick a corner. Might find the back of the net. It will. And it's Anthony Preston for the Highlanders. They lead 1-0.
TSS just looked like they thought that was offside there, and it definitely was not, as a beautiful lofted ball, and Preston just makes the most of that opportunity. Rovers just left looking at each other.
What a finish from Anthony Preston, his first goal of the season, and he capitalizes on a mistake play to the whistle for sure, and Rovers didn't, and the Highlanders pounce, and Anthony Preston, a beautiful in-tight shot, beats Justin Sandu. And we have our first goal of the season for Rovers men's games, and it goes to the opposition, by the way. Anthony Preston, his first year, the number 12, the UNBC Timberwolves capitalizes, and it's 1-0 for the visitors here.
I mean, very much against the run of play for the game, but the last few minutes, Highlanders certainly had a bit of a spring to their step, and they're buoyed by that goal as well. They're coming forward again here.
Schaefer watched by Zohar. Throwing coming up here for Edwardson. We'll just give it there to his opposite 11, Schaefer. Frustrated body language right now for TSS. And their opposition on Wednesday nights on the island Pacific have a 3-0 lead after 34 minutes at the hands of Atletico Ottawa on the road. So Rovers going to watch that game and try not to think about it too much. Just park this game at midnight and going to Wednesday for sure with some confidence as Adjani carries on. Still lots of time left, 7 minutes to go, plus stoppage time for the home side. Escobar lowers it in for Jones, and there's the opposite 13 to Jones. Youssef on the ball for the Highlanders. Now Preston for Abdelaziz Youssef.
Youssef, of course, played a key part in the first phase of that break that ended up leading to the goal. I mean, watching it back again, it is a very tight offside call, I do have to say, unless we get the lines out and we start measuring stuff. But TSS just stood still defensively. It was quite horrible defending by the back line, you have to say.
Ogden there for Preston. He wants a double, doesn't he? Anthony Preston for the Highlanders, just over to the corner of Sandu's goal in the 85th, just about testing the goal there. But what a look for Anthony Preston. We got the goal in the 83rd, 2 minutes later, just about a double on the day. Adani now for Masood Habibullah. Now there for Tyler Dillon. Ali Zohar. Late sub about to come in here for the Rovers. Looks like it'll be Kean Proctor coming in, the defender, by the way. Maybe Smichenko's race is run or Barrett's, we'll see. Zohar the header down for Tyler Dillon.
I think we might see TSS just going 3 at the back now as they try and look for what is surprisingly going to have to be an equaliser. You felt if there was going to be a goal from TSS, it was maybe going to be the match winner.
Proctor coming in here. And it'll be Tyler Dillon coming off for the Rovers. A good shift from Dillon.
Proctor, a very talented young player, bright future ahead of him, and can certainly be a bit of a handful for defences.
Smichenko now hooks it ahead there. For Edwardson's going to try and keep this ball in. He can't, as Schaefer made sure of that. And the throw in here for the Highlanders, and a frustrated figures here on this Rovers attacking 4, and Jones, Habibullah Adani, and Edwardson.
I think when they watch the video back as well, they're going to be even more frustrated, because I've watched it a couple of times now and they just stand still. Schaefer, when he plays the ball in and he's just on the ball there, but when he chips the ball in, he actually turns away because he thinks, oh, the keeper's got that. But Sandhu just does not come out at all when Smichenko's standing there, and it's a very tight decision, but I think Preston was just onside as he seized on that opportunity, and that's what you tell a striker, is like, you don't give up on a ball, you chase everything down, and Preston did that absolutely fantastic.
Both these teams' next game against Harborside FC in League 1 BC. The Highlanders in action on Friday at 8:15. Then Harborside has to come on the ferry here to the mainland on Saturday morning to take on the Rovers. So it'll be a very tired squad as well. The Rovers, I'm sure, going to try and take advantage of that. But 2 games in less than 24 hours next weekend for Harborside, who have to do back-to-backs as well this weekend. So the travel
very
away.
Strange scheduling, I have to say.
Smichenko just boots that ball out of play. But we saw last year the Highlanders playing a Friday and a Sunday usually because of the travel. Or usually a place you don't have to stay overnight to avoid costs.
And the Highlanders now will just try and do some game management, run this clock down. Looking to take 4 points from 6 from their first 2 road games. That is going to be a tremendous start to the season for Steve Simonson.
And if they can go home and continue what they've built here, it'd be very interesting to see that. As Kobe Greaves now for the Highlanders, clips it ahead for Schaefer. The speedy winger from Mount Royal University Cougars trying to play it back into the middle. There's Youssef for Victoria, battling with Smichenko heavily there. And Smichenko had to be really careful as the slippery Youssef almost won his team a penalty kick. He's down in a heap here behind the play.
And we haven't talked about it on this broadcast, but we mentioned it last week. The change to the way that the season is, the top 4 teams make it into the postseason. It's first v fourth, second v third in the playoffs. But if you want to get into the Canadian Championship and you want to be that League 1 BC representative, you have to finish top of the regular season standings. And for TSS to have just 1 point from their first 2 games is going to make it very, very difficult for them to be back at the big party next season.
Proctor watching his man there and continuing his hag on Kim for the Highlanders out wide. Kim back across to the top of the 18 for Youssef. Going to be another one for the Highlanders, blocked by Smichenko off his hip, it looked like, here in the 89th. Rovers need a gift here to tie this game.
So we're into the last minute. This is usually the time of the game where we pick our couple of performances of the game for each team. For TSS, for me, Ivan Mahey is one of them. Genuinely struggling, though, to pick a second, which kind of says everything really about the performance out there this afternoon. Possibly Dillon, maybe Barrett.
Barrett, I was thinking about as well.
He did have that one giveaway at the end of the first half, but we'll give it to Nick Barrett. for the Highlanders, I think you have to give it to Preston for that goal and breaking the deadlock.
He's been instrumental since coming on here for Steve Simonson's Highlanders.
I've liked Ogden as well.
Ball whipped
actually,
in just in behind Sandu.
Yeah, it was a close one.
Try to cut you off there.
No, fine. I mean, Ogden, I think, as well. Like, the changes that the Highlanders have made have certainly changed the game a little bit. Still time, of course, here.
Habibullah chasing that ball down, and Zadravic was not going to let that one drop for a second there.
3 minutes of time added on. 3 minutes for TSS Rovers to try and salvage something from this game. They will be so disappointed after the highs of that Valor victory to be coming away from the start to this season just with one solitary point from their first 2 home games. More worryingly, perhaps, is also the fact that they've been blanked in those 2 games as well. There's another slip out there from Baines.
Smichenko steps in well here, good speed. But the big centre back makes the move.
Oh, and clattered there. That was a horrible challenge. I thought that was worthy of a booking, I've got to say. Kobe Greaves there just taking Smichenko completely out of the play.
Here's Sandu with the ball forward for TSS into the Highlanders box. Up there's Adanii. Comes down to see Baines. Baines back towards 18. A good curling ball. Found, though, Zohar. Now Smichenko for the Rovers. For Baines. Beautiful turn. Cannot hold the ball in, though.
Time running out fast here for TSS. Highlanders will do everything in their power to just run this clock down, as they have every right to do, and it's going to be a very delighted Steve Simonson.
Thrown here for David Schaefer. Laid on here.
TSS have to really just pick themselves up. They're back on the training pitch tomorrow. They're training on Sunday, Monday, getting the ferry over on Tuesday morning, then training over at Starlight Stadium in Langford on Tuesday afternoon, ahead of their next game against Pacific FC.
And back at it against Harborside next Saturday. Same start times, 1:30 and 4 for their 3rd home games of the year. And if they can't score against Pacific, it'll be 3 without a goal for this potent Rovers team. And the Highlanders on the road to face Harborside women's at 6. And men at 8:15 at I'm going to stick with Q Stadium in Nanaimo.
It's a good shout.
Yep.
I genuinely don't know how to pronounce that.
Here's Ogden for Victoria, who's looked very positive since coming on as a sub. You have to credit Steve Simonson here. A different looking team than last year. Rogozinski and Gisbers look up to the task in the center back position for this Victoria side. Offside there was Youssef. There's Edwardson, a late header forward for Adani, trying to win a free kick. Didn't work. Edwardson can't believe it. And the whistle goes. The Rovers dropped this one 1-0 to the Victoria Highlanders. Anthony Preston with a beautiful goal in tight on Justin Sandu in the 83rd minute. Spells defeat for the Rovers this afternoon. Was headed for a 0-0 effort except for the late goal by Preston there, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, seizing the moment, seizing the opportunity. It was a great finish by Preston. Just horrible TSS defending. There's no other words for it. Not the confidence boosting game in any shape or form that TSS were hoping for heading into that game against Pacific.
Big game coming up on Wednesday, and then they're at it against Harborside next weekend. Thanks for listening all day long here on YouTube.